Hello tubers, welcome to this review and reflections on the half season ending of Vikings, the 10th episode here of season 4. And of course the whole season so far has been building up to this moment. Finally the attack on Paris seems to go forward, but as the first time it is beaten off by Rollo. Of course, Rollo has had time to prepare and he knows about their strategies, so he is well prepared, and he obviously has been learning the French some tricks about handling the ships, and they've been building these ships probably for the purpose. And we see him surprising the northern army of Ragnar as they descend on Paris. They appear around the brink, to great surprise, I would expect. And we have some beautiful aerial shots here of the ships, the northern ships with built ramps also attached to the ships, and they're going forward. And so this actually provides a nice battlefield once the French arrive. But here, the first time round, they are beaten off by the Vikings, and they retreat slightly, and it seems like it's a losing game on the French side. But then what happens is that Rollo actually, he draws the Valhalla card, one might say. He tells them that we are here to live or to die on this day.
So gather yourselves. Gather all of your strength and all of your sweetness into an iron ball.
It is in many ways the St. Crispin's Day speech of Shakespeare here, not quite up to the beat, but a fair attempt. And Rollo manages to turn the tides, and they re-attack, this time with much more vigor. And we see also, we have some clips back to Paris, where we see his beautiful wife. She's making prayers, and we see here a Christian miracle. The figure of Madonna sheds a tear. I think that's quite fair in a way. We've seen the northern gods in action, so it's kind of a premise here that we should see also the Christian God has some effect. So that seems to be the name of the game these days and things. Actually, I think that the representation of the North faith is very it's very appealing in the Viking series, that you have these gods, and as it is said that they walk among men, and certainly we've seen this Odin character back in Skagerrak. He is charming the women and so on and so forth, and I think that's quite charming. And then at the end, this character, he also, this was the previous episode, he admits, so to say, to be a human, but a human can take on like the form or the faith of a god. I think that's quite appealing. As the second attack from the French towards the Vikings kind of picks up speed, we focus a little bit here on Ragnar, and he looks he's a poor figure. He's a beaten down addict, and he takes the last of his potion, and but it doesn't seem to help him very much. Actually, ever since the death of Angelstein, he hasn't been himself. He's been only the shadow of the man he used to be, and now the consequence will manifest. During this time also, we have an important clip back to Paris, where we see the king, and he is entertaining a dinner here with his close allies. We've been led to think the two siblings, Count, whatever his name is, and his sister, and both of them are the bedmates of the king, and it's all quite sordid. And quite surprisingly, he has them both murdered right there at the dinner table. And the strange thing about this is, of course, that why would he do that? Of course, as he claims that he has been kind of leading you on to believe that he is a weak and indecisive and slightly stupid person, perhaps. But this doesn't seem to be all too well thought through either. He has now realized who his real friends are, and that, of course, is good for him. But what happened, or what would have happened, if Rollo had lost the battle and the Vikings would have descended on Paris? He might then have had good use for these people. So killing them is one thing, but the timing seems to be not altogether thought through. That is a question mark regarding the logic of the narrative. At this point, when the kind of second part of the battle commences, we have also here a clip back to Paris, where now Rollo's ring is given as kind of a sacrifice to the Holy Madonna, and she sheds yet another tear, a new miracle. And of course, these are clear signs as to what is unfolding. Making this offer, of course, of Rollo's ring is very significant. The ring is his honor and his manhood. It is his whole being. At the same time, we hear the Vikings call out for Odin, "Where are you?" And of course, there is no sign of Odin here at this event. Odin has left them at this point. And also, we've seen already signs at this earlier on. There are no birds. Normally, when we have this feeling that Odin is present, it would often be represented by birds. Odin, of course, has his two birds, Hugin and Munin. They are, of course, ravens and almost a part of Odin. Their main function here is to pick out actually dead warriors to go to Valhalla and so on and so forth. But clearly Odin has left the scene here at this point in time, and everything seems quite ominous. But of course the battle carries on. There's nothing like a fight between brothers in terms of ferociousness, and it is the whole battle scene here. Actually, I think it's very well made. It's really ferocious all the way through, and we've seen so much action in TV series and movies, more and more in recent years. So it is increasingly difficult to make something which actually stands out. And I think they've managed at this point here in this episode. Certainly a very beautiful battle here, and on the total pictures from the aerial photos of the ships clashing in, and the close-ups, and Ragnar and Rollo. And of course, first and last, we see Lagertha. She seems to be in total control. She's like a dancer in the battle with her sword, and she's so beautiful. It almost brings tears to my eyes thinking back on what happens as she is finally stabbed. And as soon as she's down, the battle is over. That's it. All of the combatants, it's of course Björn and Ragnar, but certainly also Rollo, they all kind of take a few steps back. That was the end of the battle. And Ragnar, of course, also breaks off and take her to the ship, as he tells them, and they do so. And of course, he wants to stay on and fight on with Rollo, but he is then kind of taken by his own men on Björn's orders and are brought on board the ship. And then they leave, and Rollo lets them leave also. He is afterwards, when we have the first few clips, when they are leaving, the battle is breaking up. We see Rollo, and he is devastated. And of course, his immense love for Lagertha as well here. Lying wounded in the ship, Ragnar, he seems more relieved actually that it's over, whereas Rollo is truly devastated of what has happened to Lagertha. So this, of course, was Rollo's great victory. The beginning of his claim to fame. As we all know, he becomes quite a magnificent figure in history as the founder of the great Norman Empire, in starting off from the north of France in Normandy, that will later kind of build an empire across Europe in its own right. So he is the founder of that, and this certainly is where this begins, you can imagine. He comes back to Paris and insists on walking, even though, of course, he is badly wounded and battered. But he takes the walk, and he is praised by the king. He is declared Caesar and everything. It's really the thing he must have dreamed about all the time, living in the shadow of Ragnar. Now finally he is appreciated and loved in the way that he would like. Then towards the last part of the episode, of course, we have this twist of the story here, where suddenly we jump forward perhaps 7-8 years. We move ahead. We are back in Kattegat, and it seems almost very idyllic, almost tropical, with a calm water, and it seems warm and pleasant, and there's a nice light, sunny light, and we see Björn. He is catching fish in the water and is then called back by the queen, and everything seems very idyllic, even though, of course, Queen Aslak, she has become a bit Cersei-like. She likes a glass of wine, it seems, and that may become a downfall later. But she seems to be managing the role as ruler quite well. As we see later here also, certainly Skagerrak seems to be thriving. But of course, there's a visitor, and finally the truth about the settlement in England is revealed.
Your father's farming settlement in Wessex. We asked if it still existed, and they laughed and said it was destroyed almost as soon as your father sailed away.
And of course, they haven't seen Ragnar in all this time. He has left them and has been doing a walkabout or whatever. We don't really know. Then the episode moves on to Ragnar's sons, who are, of course, disappointed by their father, and when they hear about this deception, this lie, this, of course, doesn't help things. But as Björn points out, there might have been good reason why he didn't tell the truth about this.
He betrayed our name. If he ever came back, I would kill him.
Anyways, they don't seem to be any great defenders of their father. Only, of course, Ivar and Björn recognizes still Ragnar as a great man. Then, of course, we have the great situation when Ragnar returns. In the beginning, we see him walking towards a city. When I saw the clip first, I thought he must be somewhere in the Mediterranean area, or certainly in the southern part of Europe, maybe in France. It all seemed very exotic. So it's a bit surprising as he walks through and you see people recognizing him, and you start seeing also, you notice some of these, the shield maidens, these women, warriors, and they of course stand out. You wouldn't see those anywhere else. Otherwise you see international, exotic tradespeople. So it does seem like a flourishing, economically flourishing city here at this point. And then, of course, we have the great finale where he kind of invites anyone there to kill him.
He's gonna kill me. And I don't mind. Go ahead. Please. Too bad you, Victor. You think you're a man now.
He is prepared, he wouldn't mind, as he says, and he has no supporters. As he says, nobody here supports me anymore, and why would they? He completely admits to everything, one might say. I have abandoned my people and my sons So why indeed wouldn't you kill me? Seems to be his message, and he hands them the sword, and still nobody wants to kill him. Nobody wants to be the king.
Anyone? Who wants to be king?
One person is not there at the finale, and that of course is Björn. There's a clip here where we see Björn. He is visiting Floge, and there seems to be a new plan developing here about Björn. We seen he has a plan to go further away into the Mediterranean, Björn has, and he of course needs and wants Floge to be his ally. Certainly Björn has ambition here, and but now Ragnar is back, so how is that going to unfold? These are the questions for the remaining part of the season. Another 10-episode installment, I believe, coming in the fall. The final question, which of course hasn't been altogether clarified, is did indeed Lagertha, did she die from her wounds in the battle? We haven't really had confirmation as to that. We can still hope, and I'm sure that I'm not alone in that.